Hello, my name is Alex Constantine. Welcome to the show which can seriously damage your wealth. This is the Winning Line podcast in association with ggs.co.uk, home of the easiest to use form tools. We have returned after a lengthy absence to reclaim our crown as the best racing show on the internet. Open brackets, broadcast once every 8 months, close brackets. Start at final podcast. We're looking at 4 big the Christmas period, as well as taking a look at the full championship races at the Cheltenham Festival. But before all of that, let me introduce you to our slightly usual today. Actually, nonetheless, first up, it is a delight to be able to say that this woman will soon have her very own website where you'll be able to see her racing musings daily. This wouldn't be a podcast. It wouldn't be a Winning Line vidcast without this lady. It gives me great delight to be able to say that she joins us tonight. It is the one, the only, except no imitation, Cathryn Fry.
Hello.
Hello, Cathryn.
Hello.
Next up, 4 words. I have a dream. Very famous. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, Google. But when this man says I have a dream, listen intently, because he dreamt that his beloved Bournemouth, hence the football shirt, would beat both Chelsea and Manchester United. So we'll be asking him later on, who is he dreaming about when it comes to festival winners? Ladies and gentlemen, the head honcho of ggs.co.uk, Mr. Matt Bisogno.
Hello.
Hello. Now, let's move on. Right, what we're going to basically do, because we're stretched for time, is we're going to go backwards from the Cheltenham Festival to the races that are upcoming, King George VI, Lexus Chase, and a couple of others. So we're going to start with the World Hurdle. Now, Cathryn, let's start with you. A Gold Cup, sorry, not the World. Let's start with you. I've got your selection down here, Cathryn, but before I let you talk about your one, I'm just going to say, and I've mentioned this on a previous vidcast, that Gold Cup winners have a very poor record when it comes to losing their crown. Over to you for your selection, please.
My Gold Cup selection, as we stand in time at this moment.
Yes.
Well, I'll go with the reigning champion, Coney Gree.
Okay.
At this moment in time, if a Gold Cup has run again on the same sort of ground, softish ground, I didn't actually, I'm preaching from a converted position. I actually thought that Coney Gree should go to the RSA. I was kind of gobsmacked at what he did to his opposition. I was just literally jump and ground it out. He was against a very small field on his reappearance in Sandown. But he does exactly the same thing. That's what he does. He grinds it out and he jumps, and we know he stays. If the ground comes up good, would I deviate? Probably. At this moment in time, I don't know what to. I'll wait for the races over Christmas. That's not the Cotswold Chase anymore, is it? What is it? The Argento to be run as well. Not that that's much of a trial these days. All that sort of business, but at the moment I'm quite happy to stick with the reigning champion. Obviously the news today that he could well go for the King George now instead of the Lexus. I was hoping he'd go to the Lexus, but we'll see what happens over Christmas.
Do you want to mention any of the Irish contingent and who you'd be going for now?
Of the Irish contingent,
yeah.
I was very impressed with Sir Deschamps' comeback. Just the way that he was kind of detached, and I thought, we're just seeing a bit of a hunt round, and the fact, literally, he just took off. He made up the ground. I thought he jumped satisfactory. Talking about a horse that's already been second in the Gold Cup, and he's almost being overlooked. But again, very taken with his stablemate Jack Adam. Been there and done it. Those two, to me, I would take at this moment in time over Don Poli. We'll talk about Don Poli more when we go on to talk about the Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
There's the 2 of the Irish.
Matt, let's go over to you. Let me just mention Vitor at this stage, although we will discuss later because he's obviously down for a number of races. If the ground isn't soft, would he be your idea of a possible winner?
Actually, before I start, I should just mention this. It's not a murder scene. Nobody
all right.
died. We're having some decoration done at the moment. It's dragging on a little bit, so please don't worry about this. Right, back to the race. In terms of Vautour, I mean, I don't really work in terms of possible winners. I work in terms of possible bets, and they're not necessarily the same thing. So, obviously, I want a winner, but it's got to be at the right value proposition. A horse that's entered in all of the championship chase races, and connections are as clueless as anybody else as to which it will go for, isn't really my idea of an anti-post proposition, unless you're betting with William Hills to win any race. In any case, in the context of the Gold Cup, he's got a fair bit to prove, I think, in terms of stamina, apart from anything else. He wouldn't be for me. Coney Gree, what I was the same as you, Catherine.
Yeah.
He possibly win last year. I thought he had to go RSA, and sometimes we can be delighted to be wrong.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I actually shouted him home without a penny on him, just literally the spectacle that I'd just seen unfold, and I thought I've never been so happy to be proved wrong.
That's right. It was a brilliant race, and
Yeah,
Jack
it was.
in second as a 6-year-old. That was an absolutely massive performance as well. And they both got obvious chances again, as have a number of others. Q Card, if it comes up soft, I'm not certain he'll stay, but he was superb at Haydock. I like Don Pauly. I know the RSA can be a bit polar in terms of how the form works out. Sometimes it works out great, sometimes it falls to pieces. I think that RSA might be okay, and he's unbeaten. If you ignore that Punchestown run where he was basically over the top, he's a really strong player. I think 7-1 non-runner no bet is probably about as good as there is at the moment. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sufficiently excited to get involved because I don't have to have a bet now, and it's a wide open race. And in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, when all the Christmas races have been done, we might be asked to take 7-2 about a horse, but they might have a very clear form chance. So at the moment, Don Pauly. One I'd just mention as a pound each way job. If I was going to take a wild punt on anything, I wouldn't be afraid to have a tiny tickle on Wounded Warrior with the non-runner no bet proviso. He was third, not beaten far in the RSA last year. He probably won't run if it's good ground. He's got to have it soft. He's a very, very strong stayer, and horses like On His Own and that ilk have run into the frame in recent Gold Cups, and he's the type that he's just a grinder, and if it comes up soft, he'd have a bit of a squeak. 50-1 isn't the worst randomizer poke in the world.
Yep, okay, like you said, 50s. Coney Gree at the moment, best price 6s, Don Cossack 6s, Jackadam 7s, Vautour from 4-1 to 7-1, Don Pauly 7s. One that we haven't mentioned, which I think we should do, is Mad Plus. An each way squeak? Matt?
Well, the Smad Place that turned up in the Hennessy was a different Smad Place from one we've seen before. I know he won his prep race for that, but you can't really judge a horse's optimum ability on a kind of a warm up. He was very impressive in the Hennessy. He just kept on running, Forrest Gump style. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how long the can be effective for. That was a step forward on the form he'd shown previously, and if he can step forward, he doesn't. It's only a small step forward for him from that run to put himself in the Gold Cup frame. Run style would be interesting. He went from the front there, didn't he? And there'd be a few others in the Gold Cup field, Coney Green notably, who'd want to kick on. So it could be absolutely balls out furious from the start. Although Coney Green won that way last year, I'm not sure I want one trying to lead all the way in the Gold Cup personally. So he wouldn't be for me on that basis.
Okay, go on, Cathryn. You want to say sorry? Over to you.
Matt, me, what you want to know? What I think about Mad Place?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I really echo what Matt said. I mean, interesting to see Alan King said that he felt that he bottomed him last year with his run, his run in the Hennessy. He was fifth the year before, wasn't he? And he said had he given him a prep run, he thought that he would have been further forward. And again, he's had the same operation that Q Card had, which obviously worked miracles with the pair of them. Or he was second in an RSA. He, like Matt said, that he doesn't really have to come forward much, but it depends where he goes. I mean, they're waiting to see. They think that they'll probably most likely go to the Argento, which I think is a pretty sensible decision because that will then tell them which race to go to at the festival. So we might see him in the Ryanair, might see him in the Gold Cup. If he turns up in the Ryanair, I'm definitely with him.
Okay, well, let's summarise then. Gold Cup, maybe leave it until Christmas. World Hurdle then let's look at. Let's stick with you, Cathryn, seeing as you last spoke. Tell us about your bet at this point. The winner of the long distance hurdle, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've had like two aborted anti-post bets. I mean, no money down, but two aborted anti-post selections on the World Hurdle. The first was Cheltenham, and the second was Zabana, both obviously going novice chasing.
Well, hold on. Before you say that, if you do go for Thistlecrack, surely you have to give Cheltenham another look. I know the trainer has said chasing, but I think I mentioned to you the other day that he's put Cheltenham down as an early entry.
That's the things what you're seeing on the Racing Post. They're not entered yet. That's just possible entries. I would imagine that Willie will get. I mean, Willie tends to blanket entry anyway, so I'd imagine that it wouldn't come as any surprise to see him with an entry in the World Hurdle anyway. But yeah, you're right. If he does turn up, obviously, yeah, he's my main selection. But I don't think he will. I think we will see him chasing. Yeah, Thistlecrack. Was kind of he had a bit of an in and out season last season, but he was still catching my eye. Went to Aintree and won the long distance there. Was very taken with that performance, and then he went to Punchestown where he was beaten by Cheltenham. I couldn't understand the betting in that race. I couldn't understand why Shaneshill went off favourite and Cheltenham went off so big, but that's another story. And then I thought we saw the Thistlecrack of everything that Thistlecrack has promised to be was in the long distance hurdle, and then that's why I thought like that is a world hurdler, definitely. I'm not bothered really what ground it is. He's won in heavy, he's won in good, he's won on soft. Completely no problems from that point of view. The only question I would have is Cheltenham going to be completely up his street? He has run previously at Cheltenham. He was seventh to Alan King's Latin horse that's out for the season. Matt will know how to pronounce it because I can never remember. The one that ran in the Neptune.
No, sorry, you got me there.
Okay, any Latin scholars will certainly know. Anyway, the horse is out for the season. I'm not even going to try and attempt to pronounce it because I'll just make myself look an idiot. But then that's
go on.
No, that's at the end of the day, it would be nothing new anyway. That would be. I would like him to. There is the race on Trials Day, the 3 mile hurdle there that Rev de Civola often runs in. I'd like to see him go there, and then I will. After that, I mean, obviously his price is going to tumble if he wins that, but just to see how he gets on.
Okay. Now, am I right in thinking that Thistlecrack beat Whisper and Cole Harden in that long distance hurdle? Is that right?
Yeah,
right,
he did.
okay. Matt,
yeah.
Yeah. In that case, Matt, would you be willing just to say that those two had an okay race and they might bounce back to this? Would you cross them off your list? Whisper and Cole Harden.
Well, I certainly wouldn't cross Cole Harden off my list. I think Whisper probably has a bit more to prove. He's a failed chaser last year. I backed him anti-post for the World Hurdle last year. There's no doubt that he had the ability. before he went chasing to be involved in a world hurdle on that Welsh champion hurdle run particularly. But he's got questions to answer now, and I mean, you know from my early synopsis that I think this is an impossible race, and at this stage,
yeah, wide open.
And the horses kind of fit into two groups. They're the up and comers, and I suspect that group will house the winner, and the thereabouts, but probably no more improvement in them. And to be honest, it would be somewhat disappointing if one of those was good enough to win this year, because there are some very interesting horses coming through, the likes of certainly Thistlecrack. I take your point about whether he acts on the track, but you know, he's wildly progressive and he stays well. You've got where's he gone? Au Petit Swan, who is in the could be anything category, and the likes of Carl Harden, you know, but really it's 9-1 the field for a reason, because no one's got a Scooby-Doo. You know, we're in mid-December. We've got the Christmas races to come. We've got the January races to come. You don't have to have a bet in the World Hurdle now, and I cannot be tempted by anything in the race.
Let me throw two at you both. Martello Tower and Bobsworth.
Martello Tower, yeah, absolutely. After winning the Albert Bartlett last year, you have to put him in. Purely, like, I totally agree with what Matt said. It isn't a race to be betting on now. It probably isn't. It isn't a race to even really look at until what, 3-4 weeks. But Martello Tower has to be in there. Bobsworth, absolutely no. I think that was probably, he was meant to win at Aintree that day, and I still think the horse has problems somewhere. I mean, what was he when he ran in the Hennessy the other week? Was he £29 now below what he was? You know, I don't know. There's something still amiss there for me.
Okay, well, if it's a race discussing, let's not discuss it anymore, and let's move on to the Champion Chase. Again, let's stick with you, Cathryn, because I mentioned earlier on that Vautour has been entered, in a number of races at the moment. Not sure where it's going to end up, but if it does go for the Champion Chase, you think it's a likely winner?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Unless we're seeing the next Courtauld Star, which we could well be, I think he's slightly too exuberant to be a 3 mile 2 chaser, especially on winter ground. Probably even on good ground, really. I mean, I thought the JLT last year was one of the performances of the festival. I've certainly never heard a crowd clap from fence to fence before. I mean, it was sensational to watch. I just don't think, when you've got such stayers in a Gold Cup, that Vautour is going to sort of, he'll jump, but I don't know if he's going to be able to sort of almost, the type of Gold Cup that I think we're going to have, you almost have to be Denman-esque in being able to jump and grind and see out that trip. I mean, it's a hard slog, and especially in sort of March ground. All right, we could be looking at good ground, but it's still a slog anyway. It's a massive trip. From what I've seen, Vautour is 2 mile 5. I could be wrong. I hope we'll find out. Look, you know, we'll find out in 2 weeks' time. Kempton is saying that could be good to soft. I would imagine the amount of rain we're getting here at the moment, I would imagine it's more likely to be soft. If Coney Gree does go to the King George, then in one respect it's great to see where Vautour lies up with him over a trip. In a way, I hope, a bit like last year's Gold Cup, I hope I've proved wrong and we see something sensational, and we are looking at a next, almost, what they used to call Courtauld Star an extraterrestrial. I hope that we are looking at something like that. But if he's what I think he is, then I think he could win a Champion Chase.
Okay, just to go on from that, You haven't got well in the lineup either. I mean, Vuelta, I'm just looking at odds checker, 4-1 in places for this, and you can get 10 to as well. Matt, let me mention two horses to you, which sort of came back to something like their old selves in their last runs. Sprinter Sacra and Sire de Grugy. What do you reckon?
But just one point on those prices. The 4-1 is with Sky Bet, non-run and no bet. The 10-1 is all in run or not. So basically, you probably be better off taking the 4s if you think that's a fair price if he runs, because at least you don't lose your money that way if he goes to one of the other races. To your point, Sprinter Sacra, I mean, he'd be more interesting to me than Sire de Grugy, despite the fact that, as I'll mention, I quite like Special Tiara. Sprinter Sacra, you know, he had a bit of a nothing season last year, and the conventional wisdom was that he was gone at the game. He's still some way below his imperious best, but he could probably be £7 to £10 below that and still have a real fighting chance in here. And I think I'd put it like this: I'd rather take 4-1 about him than 6-4 about Underso. Sire de Grugy, I'm not sure about him. I know he won the other day, and he beat you know, a decent horse, Special Tiara, third in the Champion Chase last year, only beaten 3 lengths. But yeah, I backed him the year he won, and I really like the horse, but I don't think in a good year or even a fair year he can win a Champion Chase. When he won it, it was an awful race behind him. And that wasn't his fault. He was the clear pick, but the rest of them were a motley old bunch. Special Tiara, like I say, you know, at the same price as Sire, 16-1. I really like Henry de Bromhead. A guy called Tony Keenan has made some very interesting comments in a post on Gigi's about Henry de Bromhead's ability with chasers. And this lad, he was a bit unlucky last time. I mean, on that run, there wouldn't be much between him and Sire, but I think Sandown is Sire de Grugy's track. And I think whilst Special Tiara might be better on flat tracks as a rule, I'd still be at 16-1 no run and no bet. I'd be quite interested in that each way. In fact, okay. I'm probably going to have a bit of that.
All right. It would be unfair not to say something at least, Cathryn, of Undersco. Like Matt says, 6-4. What do you reckon?
I mean, you can't grab him as a reigning champion. You can't grab him on what he's done. What you possibly could is in opposition that he's possibly faced. But I'm with what he's going on paper at the moment. It looks like being a better race than last year. Wasn't the greatest race, but as Matt said, it certainly wasn't as bad as the year before. The year before was the worst Queen Mother I'd seen in living memory. And like Matt said, again, that wasn't Sire de Grugy's fault, but it really was. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible race. But I wouldn't be taking 6-4 about him. No, definitely not.
Okay. You won the Arkle last year, of course, Cathryn, and
yeah. So yes, sorry, yeah. I'm getting my races mixed up. Yeah. Yeah, but no. Yeah, it's like last year's Queen Mother. I just thought it was better than the year before, but it was still a little bit of a mishmash, wasn't it? Really, and Dodging Bullets proved to be the best horse on the day, and I was pleased from away because he had an awful lot of doubters, people saying, oh, he couldn't win in the spring, couldn't do this, but he was an awful bleeder, wasn't he? And they got that under control. But yeah, no, the Arkle that Undersco won, I wouldn't say was the strongest I'd ever seen either. And again, he can only beat what's put in front of him, and that's that.
Yeah.
Let's crack on. Like I say,
he's quite an enthusiastic front runner as well, isn't he? And
yeah, he is. Yeah.
Something took him on. He's got to step. I mean, he is the one who's got the capability to step forward on what he's done before. Most of the rest are fairly established at their level. but his jumping might come under some serious pressure in the early to mid part of the race if he wants to lead, and others in there also want to do that. So yeah, I think that'd be a really good race, but I couldn't back him at 6-4, no chance.
Okay, let's talk about the champion hurdle. We shall go to you, Cathryn, with a horse that, if I'm not mistaken, is shorter for another race at the festival, but you think it will line up in this one, and it's a horse that we haven't yet seen this season. Tell us about it.
Windsor Park.
Yeah.
I really like Windsor Park. I always have since I saw him second in a bumper at Fairy House in December 2013 when I was over, and I just thought, that's the type of horse to go on and win a Neptune. Things like that don't happen very often, but I was glad that they did. Obviously, I know you're talking about Windsor Park being shorter for the World Hurdle than he is the Champion Hurdle. He doesn't strike me as a World Hurdler, because I'm not sure that he will actually stay 3 miles in winter ground. He actually has a dirt pedigree. He's very closely related to actually Pegasus, which is quite unusual. I don't understand why there isn't more talk about him, really. People are saying that it was a bad Neptune. I don't think that that's necessarily true. And I was going back through it today. I haven't seen any evidence yet of it. Certainly, it isn't as, you remember when Cinders and Ashes won the Supreme, and that was an absolutely horrendous Supreme. I haven't seen any evidence yet that it is. So obviously, Parlour Games was second to him. Parlour Games didn't look like a natural chaser to me when he ran at the showcase, but he did go on after the Neptune and was second at Aintree. Second to Nichols Canyon, of course. Nichols Canyon, so after being third in the Neptune, he's gone on and won the Grade 1 Mersey at Aintree. He's now started this season of taking the notable sculpt of Pauline, which we'll talk about in a minute. Volta de Rock obviously won his chase debut the other day, narrowly, but he still won. Snow Falcon won on debut. Was beaten in the Hatton's Grace, beaten by Arctic Fire. And Outlander's won on his chase debut. So I'm not really seeing any evidence yet that it's, obviously the standout bit of form is him beating Nichols Canyon. See, Nichols Canyon had previously beaten Windsor Park in Ireland in it was about 6 weeks before Cheltenham last year. I think he's the ideal type for a champion hurdler. We're not unaccustomed to seeing Neptune winners come on and win a champion hurdle. I'm quite astounded that he's 33s, 25s in a place. We've seen Faugheen is beatable. All right, Faugheen looked the size of a small country when he was beaten in Ireland the other week. But I wasn't concerned about that, because that can be worked on. What I was more concerned about was I saw a chink in his head carriage, and I'd never seen that before. We're well accustomed to seeing Faugheen knock through his hurdles and still get to the other side in one piece and not affect him at all. And that's what I kind of marvel about Faugheen. But there's a little chink in his head carriage that I was slightly worried about. One thing that we have seen that he's beatable. Now, every horse is beatable, of course he is. But, with his reputation. So I've had a bet anti-post on Windsor Park. Wasn't something that I'd probably normally do. I backed him at the end of the summer. But I think he could be a champion hurdler, and at that sort of price, I'm more than happy to lose my money if he doesn't go here.
Okay. Now, Matt, I was spying on your Twitter feed, as I like to do, and I noticed you mentioned horse. Well, let's say maybe the form took a little bit of a boost at the weekend, but a 33-1 anti-post shot for you in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah. First thing to say is I'm pretty sold on Cathryn's case for Windsor Park. He had the toe to win a flat race last time out as well, I think. So it's pretty versatile as regards to trip, and he is non-runner, no bet 25-1 with Sky Bet, and that is compelling in that context, because obviously if he goes for the other race, you get your dough back. The one I like on this season's form at the prices is Identity Thief. It's another Henry de Brom head horse. He won the Fighting Fifth despite his jumping, not because of it. And whilst that's clearly an issue going to a champion hurdle, there's time twixt now and then to get that sorted. If he puts in a clear round and continues his progress, I mean, he's improved something like a stone from last season already, and you know, there's no sign that improvement is bottoming out. He had some good horses, or at least established yardsticks in behind in the Fighting Fifth, the likes of Wicklow Brave, who have run closer to other contenders. He may have had an off day, that's for sure. I just think, you know, like Cathryn, I'd like to take an up-and-comer rather than one of the established champion runners. And 25 to 1, he was 33s. Yeah, he's worth a go. Again, non-runner, no bet, because if he tests his mettle over Christmas against some of those big guns and fails to fire, then they'll probably reassess his ambitions. So in that context, I'd be happy enough 25s each way, Identity Thief.
Okay, are we ruling out Pete & Co after the weekend?
I've always been worried about Pete & Co.'s temperament. I was surprised to see him win the Triumph just because I thought that the occasion would get to him. I've always had him down as an absolute nutcase. What I saw on Saturday, I'm sorry I can't have him for the champion hurdle, purely because obviously it wasn't, it was busy enough, but it wasn't that busy at Cheltenham on Saturday. And I mean, champion hurdle day with the noise and the occasion, and you know, he's obviously got issues in the upstairs department. I'm not knocking his talent. You know, the talent is clearly there, but you know, with the opposition that he's going to be facing, no, I can't have him.
Okay. Now with time,
just on Pete & Co very quickly, he'd probably be better suited by a you know, a championship race, true run race, but still can't have him for Cathryn's outline. I think I quite like Arctic Fire actually. I think he's still progressing a little bit. And
yeah, he is progressing. Yeah, he is.
He would have hated the ground at Fairy House last time, and the trip 2.5. You know, it's probably the fat end of the distance he wants to go. He was catching for Heen in the champion hurdle last year, and I think he was ridden to get a place. If he was ridden a little bit more quickly there, he might just have gone by the winner. And he's, what is he? He's 8 to 1. He's got other options, but again, non-runner, no bet, 8 to 1.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a bad bet, I don't think.
I mean, you guys are obviously the pros here when it comes to the betting and stuff. What I would say with the champion hurdle is I think you can pretty much say that Verheen with Ruby on board and Nichols Canyon are going to go out and make it a true test of pace. And I think if you're looking at something else in the betting, you're going to have to think of a horse which is going to come from behind to obviously take them on and beat them. I'm not sure there are many in this field that can beat either Verheen or Nichols Canyon. That's my take on it.
One thing I will say, going back to Windsor Park, well, when we saw him campaigned in Ireland before he came over to Cheltenham, he was being held up, and to me that kind of affected his jumping a little bit. We saw a totally different style on him in the Neptune. You know, he was jumped out positive, and you will go back and watch the Neptune, and David's smoking a cigar on the ferry wheel. You know, it's pretty. The amount of horse he's got underneath him is unbelievable, and that I definitely think that helps his jumping.
Okay, let's crack on, like I say, because we're running out of time. Let's go. Well, let's talk about the King George then, and we'll start by mentioning a horse that we talked about very briefly earlier. Fourth time lucky, perhaps, for Q Card, Matt.
Yeah, perhaps. He absolutely lagged up in the Betfair race at Haydock, didn't he? Or formerly the Betfair race.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if he brought that run to Kent, he'd have every chance, wouldn't he? Silviniaco Conti doesn't seem to be the same horse, although they've been talking about another previously undisclosed ailment today with a new one that people were rushing for their veterinary dictionaries to understand. So yeah, I think he and Don Cossack are the obvious pair in the race, and at the prices, he's 9-2, Don Cossack's 11-4. Vertor has still got to prove his stamina in this race, let alone the Gold Cup. There are other contenders for sure, but I think, yeah, Q Card's got a definite chance.
Okay. Anything else should be in this? Any other horses that you want to mention on the list?
I think once I mean, isn't it the schooling session tomorrow to find out where Coney is actually going to go? I think if Coney does line up in this, it will give us a clue as to how some of what we don't know if they'll stay. You know, that is going to give us a definite angle. Obviously, if Coney lines up in this and it's his ground, which it probably is going to be, then makes him the obvious pick, because that's all he does. He's like, Matt did a very, very good comparison with the Forrest Gump earlier. He kind of is, because he just takes what's in front of him and doesn't stop. You know, he's an absolute superstar. I would agree with you. I mean, if I'd have sat here this time last year and talked about Q Card winning the King George, I didn't think that would ever happen. But I've been so impressed with almost the new improved Q Card. You know, the operation has helped him wonders, and you wonder if that had happened years ago. Could he have won a Gold Cup? Maybe. I always had him down as a suspect stayer, but maybe that was causing the problem. Who knows? I think Paddy Brennan suits him down to the ground. And he's
definitely.
He just seemed to fill each other with confidence, which is great to see. And I think they're a great partnership. I really do. I would, if Coney doesn't line up in the King George, I will be backing Q Card. Agree with Matt that Saviniaco Conti doesn't look the same horse. I wasn't that worried that he got beat in the hurdle race at Kempton, that he, his seasonal reappearance, but he looked laboured to me in the Betfair. He was, Q Card always really had his measure, and that was a bit concerning, really. And I just wonder if he is on some sort of decline. I don't know. We'll see after this. A horse I do want to mention, a horse I mentioned previously. If Sir Deschamps comes over for the King, does have an entry in the King George. He's an absolute great price at the moment at 33-1.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll know more after tomorrow.
Let me chuck one at you, Matt, as well. An old favourite of mine, now a 10-year-old. I think this will be its Gold Cup. Is Alfarov. Give it a place for an each way.
You're obsessed with Alfarov.
I love Alfarov. Do you give it a chance, professional punters? 20-1 you can get at the moment. No.
And I don't for one reason. This is a horse that goes phenomenally well fresh.
Yeah.
And his run in, was it the Peterborough the other day?
Yeah.
I think 3 weeks is too close, basically. And so on that basis, as they say on Dragon's Den, I'm out.
Fair enough. Okay, let's go on to the Lexus Chase, the Leopardstown. I'm just trying to find the betting here, but my computer screen's gone down. So, Coney, Don Cossack, Jacadam, Don Poli, Valsalido, Vittor. We'll see what runs. Not a bad Gold Cup prep. This, would you agree, Matt?
I absolutely agree. It's always a good Gold Cup prep, and this year looks no exception. Although, when I say looks no exception, that's based on what I assume might run. There seems to be quite a lot of blue for Don Poli, so I assume that one's running, and quite a lot. I assume that one may not be running. I mean, God knows what's going to run here. You'd have to see what turns up on the day. You'd have to look at the ground. The ground would probably be on the soft side. I think they're forecast quite a bit of rain between now and the 26th or 28th, whenever it is. I mean, I love Don Poli. I've already said that, and I'd like to think he'd be good enough to win this different test en route to a very bold bid in the Gold Cup itself. I don't doubt, a bit like Bisogno, that in a totally different context, that Don Poli has the talent. What I worry about Don Poli is he just seems like a big lazy git. He's obviously a thinker. You see his ears going backwards and forwards, and he's almost quite frustrating because
I don't know. He's almost like he's taking the piss a bit. He's almost like he doesn't want to put it all in. I would love to see him put it all in and prove me wrong. My worry about that is when you have a horse like that, they very often go backwards very quickly, and the strength in his division this year is unbelievable. If it was if we were talking about something like a couple of years ago, Champion Chase, yeah, you'd be all over him. But it's just what he's facing. I'll be fascinated, as we've said many times before, as to what actually happens over Christmas. And I think you're going to see certainly a bit of a shake-up in the markets. But that's I just can't have Don Poe. And going back to last year's RSA, I think if it hadn't have been for Southfield Theatre having that injury, I actually think he might have caught him. All the way round, I really wasn't that impressed with Don Pola's jumping, and I just don't know. There's just a niggle there for me. I've just seen something that I'm not quite in love with. But anyway, who knows? He might win the Lexus by about 20 lengths, and I'll be eating my words along with kind of Quality Street or something like that, as you do at Christmas. So who knows?
Okay. Just quickly, you mentioned Southfield Theatre. That was selections when we last did one of these vidcasts, and I've just written down here also, Matt. Tipping my hat to you. Summersby 40 to 1 each way. Coney Green we mentioned on the vidcast, which was at 12s. East Lake each way at 16s. Cause of Causes, when we mentioned, was at 12s. Caller Cops 9 to 1. These were all things that we mentioned on the vidcast as likely candidates for races at the festival.
Didn't we zone each way in the Arkle as well? I think we did.
Quite possibly. I didn't have time to note them all down, but there were plenty in there. Let's move on quickly then to the Ryanair Hurdle. Again, a cracking race. Nichols Canyon versus Arctic Fire versus Identity Thief versus My Tent or Yours and Windsor Park maybe as well. Cathryn, seeing as you mentioned Windsor Park, is it going to win this? Is it going to win this season opener?
I'm not too bothered if Windsor Park gets beaten this, to be honest with you, because last year he won on debut, I believe, and then he was kind of just getting placed in everything in Ireland, so, and they kind of just brought him along like that. So I think if he comes second or third, I actually think Nichols Canyon will win this, and I expect to see Windsor Park in the shake-up again. I think if Windsor Park is brought to Cheltenham, and please God he's brought to the Champion Hurdle, I don't think we'll see the real Windsor Park until March. I think he'll just be given a nice sort. I'm not saying he's going to be a non-jigger. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it'll just be given a nice preparation. Have we lost our host?
I can't hear you.
Enough.
Ah, you're back. You're back.
I hear you now, yes.
He sounds like Darth Vader.
Shall I just talk a bit about this race while we wait?
Yeah.
They're not all going to turn up, are they? That's the first thing. And second,
Forheen and My Tent of Yours are going to Kempton, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it's soft. I wouldn't have thought My Tent or Yours would go there, and Nichols Canyon and Forheen will definitely dodge each other.
Yeah.
I think Nichols Canyon's got a great chance as well. He fell at Christmas last year while unseated riding.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was particularly interested at Willie Mullins's Grade 1 runners over the Christmas and New Year period, and it's quite interesting. Quite a lot of the shorties get beaten, and I wonder if he just eases off them a little bit in mid-season. So, I mean, Nichols Canyon's got an obvious chance, but I wouldn't be piling in at close to even money.
No.
It's not a race I'd be betting in at all. Obviously, for reasons I've outlined already, I'd like Identity Thief to run a big race in the same way that, for reasons Cathryn's outlined already, she'd like Windsor Park to run a big race. But I'll be watching this race and cheering my horse with an eye to the festival.
There's a horse that's got an entry in this that actually I think was the eye catch. Certainly, I mean, I'm not the only one to say this. It caught a lot of people's eye in the Hatton Grace, and that is Gwensilly Burbus. I'd say I think that could be a Grade 1 winner waiting in the wings.
That's Fleming's horse, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Cracking start, Barry Connell.
Now,
Yeah.
can you still see me, by the way? Because I'm having problems with
We
my.
can now.
Excellent. Right. Well, that could be a bad thing. All right. Look, time, as I say, is cracking on. So let's look at our last race, our last preview, the Racing Post Novices Chase, an Arkle prep, if you like. Now let's have a looky here. Douvan, Shane's Hill, Sizing John. Let's go to Matt first. Give us a likely winner, Matt, of this. Douvan the favourite, obviously odds on.
Yeah, I just want to say Douvan is currently 1-2. Vautour didn't get beat in this. He got stuffed in this last year at 1.
Yes.
So if you think Douvan is going to pay for Christmas, he might do, but I wouldn't remortgage for it. I've backed Sizing John to win any race at the festival at 10-1.
Yep.
He's another Henry de Bromhead.
Yep.
And he's 5-1 in a place here. That would be a sporting alternative. But this is if they all show up, this is a bloody good race. I mean, that kit looks a great horse. Really good progressive hurdler. Soft ground is what that one needs. Bobbit, I've taken my time to get to that one, or Tebob. But that's another one that's progressing nicely. Down the list, there are others that could be of interest as well. It's shaping up. It's not a one-horse race by any stretch. Really good race to watch, and sporting bet on Sizing John.
Okay, Cathryn?
Same opinions as Matt, really. One thing I will say about, horses like Douvan and Shane's Hill, all that, they've won as you'd expected to on their seasonal reappearances. Douvan's race, there was an awful lot in that race that wasn't actually at the races. Not that it probably would have beaten him anyway, but these kind of it was a bit like Min's race the other day in Ireland. I mean, that was just hysterical. There's if you look at it, there's about 4 horses in it, and the rest are just having a little tootle around. I've said many times before. We'll know more after this. One thing I will say about Douvan, I hadn't actually seen him in the flesh until last March, and he has to be one of the most athletic specimens I've ever seen. He really is something to look at. I think with Matt, actually, I'd probably go along with Matt, Sizing John.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. Now, look, we're gonna leave you guys now. Before we go, though, maybe you could just give us both a best bet at this point for the festival. It doesn't have to be a winner, but just a good bet to have anti-post at this time. Matt?
I'm going to say it's a bit of a chicken out, but I'm going to say Arctic Fire each way, non-runner, no bet, 8-1.
Okay, Cathryn?
As Matt very kindly highlighted earlier, if Windsor Park is available at 25-1 with Sky Bet, non-runner, no bet, then be that, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm going for Calalta Vic, wherever it ends up. Just if you can find a price, take it. RSA, World Hurdle, whatever. Okay, Cathryn, you can now turn on the lights in your bedroom. Matt, you can get back to your murder scene. Hopefully we'll get round to doing another one of these with more panellists next time. But from all 3 of us, a very Merry Christmas. I'm now going to take this hat off and lie down, and a very, very happy and prosperous New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.